In this video, I want to showcase all the things I like about the game Arknights while also answering some basic questions you may have if you haven't given the game a chance yet. I want to cover things like gameplay, the gacha experience, the story, setting, aesthetics, plus the day-to-day things you'll be doing. I've been playing for around 4 months now and started a couple weeks after the global launch. Hopefully this video can sway you to try out the game if you're on the fence about it, or at the very least give you an idea of just what Arknights is at a base level.
私と対峙しようというその自信はどこから湧いて出たのだ？は
は、言ったろ。俺の働きは絶対気に入るって。
First things first, this is a video game, so what is the actual gameplay? Well, Arknights is a mobile tower defense game that has you deploying a wide variety of unique operators. There are 8 different classes for operators: Vanguard, Guard, Defender, Specialist, Caster, Sniper, Supporter, and Medic. In each of those classes, operators get split into different archetypes, and they each come with their own unique skills and passive talent abilities, so there's a huge variety to try out. In terms of gameplay mechanics, besides placement of operators, you also have to use their skills effectively. Ranged enemies will target the last deployed operator, which makes every move count, and you also need to retreat operators to redeploy them somewhere else later. There are environmental hazards such as holes in which some specialist operators can push or pull enemies into. Other examples include fiery volcanoes, enemy crossbow towers, or tiles that buff the enemies, so the game will definitely keep you on your toes. In terms of enemy types, there's a ton of them. We got speedy infiltrators who cannot be blocked, highly armored tanks, and even exploding spiders. Arknights also has boss battles, and these are definitely a lot of fun, albeit sometimes frustrating. Are you able to brute force through maps in this game? Yes and no. So you can level up your operators so they get more base stats, and you can upgrade their skills to provide bigger bonuses. You do need to have enough stats to kill stuff and not get killed, but as many guides out there prove, Arknights is very focused on good strategy and tactics over just pure power. You can have a team of all 6-star characters at max level, but without proper placement and game knowledge, you are gonna fail very fast. It's actually impressive how fast things can fall apart in this game, and you'll hear this noise over and over and over. So just how difficult is Arknights as a game? Now, I don't want to scare anybody from trying this game out, but it definitely provides a good challenge when it comes to the harder content. There is a challenge mode for most stages with tougher enemies and modifiers to the rules. However, the majority of the content is very doable with low rarity characters, and you definitely don't need all the high rarity operators out there, but they are usually worth their 5 or 6-star ratings. I will say that there are many video guides out there, and if you're feeling stuck, then give some of them a watch. You can learn so many useful tips and tactics to then apply later down the line. If you just want to be a casual player, then please don't let my warning stop you from giving this game a chance, because it does offer more than just pure strategic gameplay.
ロドスのみんなは強いけど、スピードなら私は誰にも負けないよ。ここが僕のホームだよ。
Before moving on to the aesthetics of the game, I want to talk about some basic information and hopefully answer some of your questions. First things first, Arknights is made by Chinese developer Hypergriff and is published by Yostar, who you may have heard from Azure Lane. The game released on May 1st in 2019 for Android and iOS with only a Chinese server. It then got its global release on January 16, 2020. The global server is on an accelerated schedule to try and catch up with the Chinese server, and some downsides of that is that we have less downtime to farm for upgrades. However, we have the benefit of foresight into future events, and you can get a lot of information about pretty much any old or newer operators. Is there PvP in Arknights? No, Arknights does not currently have any kind of player versus player activities. There isn't even ranking leaderboards, at least to my knowledge, so most times it'll just be getting people flexing their big brain strategies for the fun of it. Is the game pay to win? What do I spend my premium currency on? With no PvP, I wouldn't say Arknights is very pay to win at all. Obviously, spending money can get you better gacha characters, but there are seriously tons of guys using low rarity operators. The 3 and 4-star characters can carry their own weight well into harder difficulty content. The main advantage for anyone whaling is to spend the premium currency on stamina refreshes that allows them to farm more materials to upgrade more operators, and that does give you an advantage. The other thing you can spend money on is skins. The skins in this game are very good and trend more toward modern fashion design if that's your thing. They are purely cosmetic, usually bring new animations, and we do get free reward skins as well. You can buy skins even if you are free to play. So far, Arknights hasn't had any alts for characters, it's just been different skins. For me personally, I've only bought one skin so far, and that was Ifrit's summer outfit. She brings an entire girl to the battlefield, which I find hilarious. The skin I'm looking forward to in the future the most is probably Hoshiguma's skin. Goddamn. So we touched on stamina refreshes a bit, and if you played a mobile game, you were well familiar with the stamina system. In Arknights, it's called Sanity, which is perfect because your IRL sanity also goes down while teching harder content. This game does offer stamina items, but they actually do expire, which encourages you to not hoard them, or actually you really can't hoard them. In terms of daily playtime, Arknights is not that demanding. It feels like a mobile game where you can check in on, do some missions, check your base, and be on your way. The story and events can take a much longer time to complete, and obviously it may take longer if you're struggling with the maps. Arknights does feature auto battle, and the game does involve some grinding to upgrade operators. If you are a casual player, the grind can feel a little slow, but to me has felt rewarding when I get a skill to Mastery 3 or promote my 6 stars to Elite 2. Well, I need friends to play Arknights, and is there a guild system? So at first I thought Arknights wasn't a game where you needed a bunch of friends. For stages you need to clear them with 3 stars, and you cannot use your friends' helper units normally, so in the early game this friend feature isn't really that helpful. However, challenge mode and other event maps are one and done things, so you can totally clear them with the help of friend units. You can bring 1 friend support unit, and you can't bring 2 of the same operator. The newest endgame content that just came to global really utilizes the friends list, so be sure to add people with a variety of useful operators. As for a guild system, there is no such thing so far.
行くよ。嵐のように蹂躙してやる。アップルパイ。
なんちらの愛名、我が意向にかき消されたり。
As a gacha game, it's pretty important to know how the gacha summoning system works. To start off, I'm going to say that I think the base rates are a little low, but Arknights has a couple big redeeming factors when it comes to acquiring new operators, and we'll get to that in a bit. So straight from the game, summoning is referred to as headhunting, and this requires Arundum. Arundum is the main currency used for summoning and can be earned in small amounts in daily and weekly missions. You can farm Arundum to a degree. Arknights also has headhunting tickets, which grant free single or 10 summons. You can of course convert the premium paid currency into Arundum. Now the rates for headhunting are as follows: 2% for 6-star operators, 8% for 5 stars, 50% for 4-star operators, and 40% for 3-star operators. To complicate matters, the rate up units on each banner make up for 50% of either the 6-star or 5-star pools. That being said, in the first 10 summons on a headhunting banner, you're guaranteed at least a 5-star operator. There is a pity rate mechanic for 6 stars, which I'm not going to delve into too much, but it's kinda not that great. It requires 50 summons to even kick in, but it does carry over between standard headhunting banners. Currently, Global has not gotten limited time banners, but they do exist. I believe there have been 2 of them so far, and I know one of them had some kind of spark system, but from my understanding, it was incredibly expensive. So while normal headhunting doesn't sound that generous, Arknights has a system called Recruitment, and my god, this is one of my favorite mechanics ever in terms of summons. Essentially, the game supplies recruitment permits, and you can use these permits to summon operators. Instead of complete randomness, you instead get to pick from a random selection of tags, and those tags correspond to the type of operator available. For example, I can pick a Vanguard tag, and I should get a Vanguard operator. You get a good amount of recruitment permits from daily and weekly missions, and by waiting 9 hours between each batch, you essentially can get the joy of RNG gambling every day. Now, I won't sugarcoat things, about 80% of the time you're going to get a 3-star unit. But those other times it's very exciting in the early game since you can obtain brand new operators to try out. You can even get 5-star and 6-star operators by finding the senior operator and top operator tags. For the love of God, if you see those, do not gloss over them. They are extremely rare. If you do try out Arknights, I would highly suggest you look up a guide on recruitment. I believe it's one of the most important things for a casual player. Now, what happens when I summon duplicate operators? Arknights has you use duplicates of operators to increase their potential, and this comes with small bonuses. For most players, hitting potential 6 on 5-star or 6-star operators isn't going to be very common. The most important thing is just having the operator themselves. For 3-star and 4-star operators, you actually will hit potential 6 on most of them rather easily thanks to recruitment. It's just going to happen over time. Now, what happens after hitting max potential? Don't worry, those potential tokens can then be exchanged for a currency called certificates. You can use certificates to buy items from the shop, including more recruitment permits, which I highly recommend you buy every month. You can even buy 5-star and 6-star operators. This is a very long-term goal for those, but I feel like my investment and playtime was really rewarded. In around 4 months, I've been able to buy Hoshiguma, a 6-star defender, and Lapland, a 5-star guard. I still have a decent amount of certificates left over. The whole recruitment and certificate systems feels very satisfying as a long-term player reward. Understand that it is based on RNG because of what recruitment sums you're getting, unless you're whaling on regular headhunting banners, but personally I felt it's been very fair so far. While Arknights at its core is a strategic tower defense game, it also features a strong cast of interesting characters and has a nice amount of world building behind the story. The aesthetics of this game are fantastic, and if I had to describe the overall mood of the world, it would be solemn, melancholic, and a bit bleak. I'll have a link in the description to one of the official trailers that does a really good job at showcasing the darker tone of this game's story and world. Please give it a watch sometime, but just for now, know that the Arknights world is set in a sort of modern day society with some good old magical realism. Is there a lot of story in Arknights? I would say Arknights definitely tries to provide a long-term story with progression, and for some that's going to be good, and for others they may not care. There are events based around side stories, and these are great for world building and character interaction. I will say that this game loves to tease things and will often ask more questions than answers sometimes. It can be intriguing, but obviously it would be nicer if more plot points were made clearer. With that said, there is a ton of information given to us about operators, and a lot of them are tied together, so piecing together lore bits can give us some more understanding between their relationships. The game actually has a system called trust, where the more you use an operator, the more trust you gain with them. Higher trust levels gives you a stat bonus, but also unlocks more information and voice lines for every operator. While you can read everyone's profiles online, it's still a nice in-game reward for actually using your favorite characters. In terms of visuals, I really like Arknight's modern UI and modern world setting in general. The main menu is pretty basic. You can set your favorite operator as your assistant on the main screen. The music is also very calming and soothing, perfect for coping with all your tactical failures. The artwork for this game I believe has a focused art style, but there are different artists with their own takes. As mentioned, the art style is definitely more modern versus the usual high fantasy genre. Operators come with 2 artworks, with the second one being unlocked on Elite 2 promotions. If you haven't noticed, the characters of Arknights are all based on animals or mythical creatures, and some of them are more obvious than others. We have snow leopards, owls, orcas and sharks, and then we have angels and demons, literally. For the chibi in-game sprites, Arknights does a good job of providing enough details, and skill visual effects are top notch. Sound design is also on point, and the most infamous skill in the game is probably Silver Ash's True Silver Slash. The swing swing noise is just so good and satisfying. It also helps that it deals a ton of damage. Speaking of sound, Arknights, despite being made by a Chinese developer, is voiced by Japanese voice actors, including some rather famous ones. Taking Silver Ash as an example again, you might recognize his deep commanding voice coming from the same voice actor as another boss character from a certain bizarre anime.
甲板への案内を頼めるか。いや、外を眺めるだけだ。天神もしばらく羽を広げていないから、荒野の空気が恋しくなっただろうしな。
Another great example of the voice work meshing well with the character is Shaw, who is based on a squirrel. She talks really fast, and the in-game subtitles smash all the words together, which is really charming.
はじめまして、上官論面消防署所属のショーです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。喋り出すと止まらなくなることが多々ありますが、上官はこういうのお嫌いですか？
Something I want to touch on before continuing is that Arknights does a good job at incorporating music to set the tone. All of their trailers are great at building up hype by including some fitting musical choices, and they leap from genre to genre all the time. In the main story, boss battles have intimidating scores to accompany them, and there is a lot of tension building pieces for intense battles when tons of enemies are storming the line. Arknights will then pivot to genres like jazz for a night out in downtown Lungmen, or they'll have a steady EDM soundtrack for the relaxing summer Obsidian Festival. We'll get into more of these in a bit, but I had to point out the music because I feel like it's something they use very well to complement their in-game events.
いやあ、久しぶりにバーベキューやろうぜ。そこに並びやがれ。イフリートがまた暴れてる。ごめん。後で叱っておくから。
If you're still here, hopefully that means you like what you've seen so far, and to end the video, I want to get into what you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis. Generally, you're going to want to progress through the main storyline, and when you hit roadblocks, you'll need to upgrade your operators. You will need EXP cards and LMD, aka Lungmen Dollars, aka the basic money of Arknights. You'll be farming a ton of both. Eventually, you're going to promote operators to Elite 1, where they will acquire new skills, and Elite 1 is where most operators will stay because getting to Elite 2 takes a lot more effort. Arknights does have a bunch of farmable materials needed for upgrades, but it's a pretty easy to understand system once you play the game for a bit. While it can be intimidating at first, any new player will eventually have to learn about the base because it's going to provide you with passive income and give you access to other important game features. The base management portion of Arknights is your typical mobile game way of making you check back in every so often throughout the day. You start off with no facilities, but eventually you'll build and upgrade Rhodes Island, which provides a nice sense of progression. To run the facilities, you actually have to use your operators, and they each have their own base skills. It's a small game of its own to efficiently run the base with the right operators. Eventually, operators will need to rest, so you can place them in the dormitories to restore their morale. You can customize the furniture in the dormitories and earn or purchase new furniture pieces. When fully upgraded, the base requires a lot of operators to run, so even operators you don't use in battle may actually be very handy in certain facilities. In terms of events, Arknights has showcased a decent variety. The main events typically have side stories tied to them, and they have pretty long dialogues. These are largely self-contained. For example, the first event, Grani and the Knight's Treasure, featured the cheerful, energetic Grani trying to help a village reclaim a lost Casimir's treasure, and she has to deal with the overwhelming power of Scotty. Events come with a set of rewards or a shop, and some events have stages worth farming for materials. We have also gotten free 5-star operators, and while I'm not sure just how reruns are going to work for Arknights, I assume they will come around eventually. Just to showcase the events held so far, Operation Intelligence provided some one-off stories with lots of character interactions. The Heart of Surging Flame event was what I assume is Arknight's summer event, and featured the Obsidian Festival as the backdrop for a fun island getaway that of course turns south. This event was really awesome and had some great music. The most recent side story event was Code of Brawl, and maybe some of you saw the incredible animated trailer for it. This event focused on the group Penguin Logistics, the return of Mostima, and poor Bison's internship with the company. This side story was like a crazy night in a Tarantino movie and perfectly showcased the chaotic vibe of Penguin Logistics. And yes, the boss of Penguin Logistics is a literal penguin named Emperor, who may also happen to be an internationally acclaimed rapper and who is not afraid to blast some Italian mafiosos. Gotta love this game. That's gonna bring us to Contingency Contract. As I'm making this video, the first CC has recently released, and oh boy, this is where the Arknights endgame is at. Contingency Contract offers some of the most challenging content in the game and requires you to have a wide variety of operators to handle all kinds of situations. It features a couple maps, and the challenge is you have to pick a set of contracts that modify the difficulty of the stage. I really like how this mode plays out because you can start off simple and work your way up. Harder contracts increase the risk of the stage, and you get more rewards for higher risk clears. This event is probably where the global server benefited the most from prior knowledge because it's absolutely brutal. It is not really meant for brand new players, but there are still guides you can follow to earn at least some of the rewards. Contingency Contract as a whole is a very cool concept. You can tailor the contracts to the operators you have, and that means there are all kinds of unique clears out there. Players can really flex their big brain strategies in this mode. Besides Contingency Contract seasons, once you reach the endgame, you'll want to clear out the challenge modes for all the story maps. You can work on promoting more operators to Elite 2 and maxing out their skill masteries. I forgot to mention that event side stories have also featured pretty challenging stages of their own. I want to stress that harder difficulty content is definitely no pushover. You need good tactics. Overall, Arknights is a game with a lot of facets. It offers really challenging content at the higher levels, but has shown to be very free-to-play friendly since players have literally cleared a lot of the content without 5-star or 6-star operators. If you just want to enjoy the fun characters and immerse yourself in the bleak world of the main story, feel free to look up the hundreds of guides out there. This game has some very pleasing aesthetics, and their animated trailers generate a lot of hype, which is always fun. Arknights is a great casual gacha game if you want to clear content at your own pace. Farming for materials is going to be the bulk of your day-to-day playtime, but with auto battle, you won't have to flex your brain muscles every single time you open the app. So far, there has been a nice stream of content, and event stages offer a good variety of rewards combined with challenging maps if you wish to clear absolutely everything. Hopefully this taste of what Arknights is all about has convinced you to give the game a chance. I would especially recommend it to anyone who has any sort of interest in the tower defense genre. I suppose the waifus are pretty great too. That's all for this video. If you liked it, I'm planning on making more Arknights content in some capacity. Probably not hardcore guides, but I would like to cover some other aspects of the game like operator lore. I mainly cover Fire Emblem Heroes on this channel, but I'm looking to expand to other topics as well. I'm pretty open to ideas at the moment. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.